Chapter 4. The Counterstroke at Asterion. By the fourth day after Signal Noir, Voss had learned that the world did not become smaller after catastrophe. It became larger. That was the cruel part. A person expected disaster to reduce things, to leave only food, water, shelter, names, medicine, the next hour, the next breath. But the attack had done the opposite. It had opened the walls of the ordinary and pushed the universe through. Bremen was still broken, the school was still a shelter, the Weser still carried ash in the rainwater. The Dom bells still did not ring. Children still woke from sleep because they had heard the low tone in their dreams. And yet the news no longer belonged only to Bremen. It belonged to orbits, to relays, to colonial routes, to places Mara had never seen and now feared as if she had relatives in all of them. At 6:40, Directive Blue News returned with a red-bordered broadcast. Claire Beaumont did not sit. She stood. That was how everyone in the shelter knew the report would be worse. Asterion confirms that a counter-operation was launched within hours of the attack on Earth. The operation involved elements of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Fleets under emergency coordination by Commander K. Lynx. Strategic sources identify the primary objective as the recovery of Asterion 4, a colonial world approximately 20 light-years beyond India 1. The shelter became completely still. Asterion 4 appeared on the wall map as a pale point near the outer colonial lanes. Beside it, another label pulsed. Port Asterion. Mara had never heard of it. That bothered her. Places should not become famous because they were attacked. Claire continued. Port Asterion lost contact during the first wave of Signal Noir. Early reports indicate hostile occupation of orbital facilities, sabotage of relay towers, and civilian containment in lower industrial zones. The counter-operation is currently classified as successful but incomplete. Successful but incomplete. Mara wrote the phrase on the edge of the board. Bram saw it. That means people are still dying, he said. No one corrected him. Theo stood beside Mara with his arms folded, eyes fixed on the map. He looked like every line of it offended him personally. 20 light-years from India 1, he said quietly. That is not near. In space language? In human language. On the feed, archival combat footage appeared. Not the polished kind, not heroic. The footage shook, cut, froze, returned. A fleet formation moved through dark blue space under interference scars. 3rd Fleet carriers, 4th Fleet strike escorts, 5th Fleet medical and recovery vessels. Their lights appeared small against the blackness, less like weapons than like a group of people carrying candles into a storm. Then came a name. K-Lynx. His voice was heard over a fleet channel, clipped and calm. 3rd Fleet, hold outer pressure. 4th, cut the relay shadow. 5th, stay behind the medical line until the corridor is clean. No glory runs, no isolated pursuit. We are here to take people home. Mara had heard commanders in old documentaries. They usually sounded as if they were speaking to history. K-Lynx sounded as if he were speaking to tired people who might die if they misunderstood him. The footage shifted. A smaller forward group broke from the main formation. Claire's voice continued. Unconfirmed reports place Magic and Madame within the Forward Recovery Command during the Asterion Counterstroke. Alliance Terrien has not released full operational details, but multiple sources confirm that Magic made physical contact with an unknown foreign element during the reclamation of Port Asterion's orbital control spine. Magic, Madame! The names moved through the shelter like familiar strangers. People knew them from reports, songs, fragments, older missions, rumors. To some they were symbols, to others they were trouble. To the children, they sounded like figures from a story that had accidentally crossed into the news. Lena whispered, Magic is a person? More than one thing, depending who you ask, Theo said. Mara looked at him. He shrugged. That is the safest answer. On the screen, the image became almost impossible to read. A corridor full of black band distortion, a figure thrown sideways by an impact, emergency lights turning white, then red, then no color at all, a gloved hand reaching toward something lodged in the wall of a control chamber. The object was small, That was the frightening part. Mara had expected the cause of worlds to be large, a weapon, a machine, a gate, something with mass and arrogance. Instead, the image showed a dark, irregular fragment, no bigger than a child's forearm, half embedded in metal. It seemed wet and dry at once. Its surface moved without moving. Thin threads of light crawled through it like nerves. The feed cut before contact, but not before the shelter heard Magic scream. It lasted less than a second. Nobody breathed. Claire Beaumont returned, pale around the eyes. During the recovery operation, the unknown element appears to have bonded temporarily with Magic's suit systems and biological interface layer. Officials describe the object as neither purely technological nor biological. The current provisional designation is hybrid signal matter. Recovery teams stabilized Magic and transported the affected party to India, one for emergency extraction. Pym raised his hand slowly, as if this were still school. "What does hybrid mean?" Mara answered before anyone else could turn it into something frightening. "It means made from more than one kind of thing." "Like soup?" Theo said. "A terrible example, but not completely wrong." Pym nodded, satisfied and horrified. The shelter feed showed India one next. Not as a place of scarves and relatives and distant colony life, but as a medical hub under blue-white emergency light. Modular surgical units, containment glass, figures in sealed suits, a corridor full of people who moved too carefully. Claire continued. The element was removed on India one after a 12-hour containment procedure. Magic survived. No further medical details have been released. The element is now under joint scientific and strategic custody. Mara felt the room exhale. Magic survived. It was not victory, but it was something the body could understand. Then came the part that changed everything again. Claire looked down at her notes. For the first time since Mara had begun watching her, Claire Beaumont seemed reluctant to continue. At 3:12 Earth Standard Time, during initial research into the removed element, a secondary signal event occurred. The signal did not travel through known colonial relays. It did not follow registered military or civilian routes. It projected outward toward a region beyond mapped human corridors. The wall map changed. Earth, India 1, Asterion 4, a line, not toward Mars, not toward the familiar lanes. Not even toward the outer colonies. The line extended into darkness, far beyond human routes, far beyond anything that looked like a road. The map pulled back until the inhabited systems became a cluster of dust. The line kept going. Then it stopped at a pale, distant shape. A galaxy. Not theirs. A soft spiral, remote and cold on the display. No one spoke. Even the children understood scale when silence explained it. Theo whispered, "That is not a distress call." Mara asked, "Then what is it?" He shook his head. "I do not know, but it knew where to go." K-Lynx appeared next. This time he was not on a battlefield channel. He stood in a recovery bay, still in armor, one side of his face marked by soot. Behind him moved medics, engineers, and people carrying sealed cases. The counterstroke at Asterion prevented further civilian containment and restored partial control of Port Asterion. The cost was high. Names will be released when families have been informed. Magic is alive. Madame remains attached to Fleet Recovery Command. The unknown element recovered at Asterion is now considered directly connected to Signal Noir. He paused. Not for drama, for control. "Let me be clear. We did not end the threat. We interrupted it." Mara wrote that down too. "We interrupted it." K-Lynx continued. "The secondary signal has given us a direction. Direction is not safety. Direction is not explanation. But it is the first thing that looks like a trail." The feed cut to the directive blue emblem. In the shelter, the world seemed to tilt. Asterion 4 was 20 light-years from India 1. Magic had touched something that should not have been alive and should not have known machines. The element had been pulled out on India 1. Then, while humans tried to understand it, it had called outward, or answered, or reported. Mara did not know which possibility frightened her most. Later that morning, Dr. Albers from the Civil Archive sent Mara a request. Please preserve all civilian reactions to the Asterion broadcast, especially first interpretations of the secondary signal. Public language may contain useful metaphors before official terminology stabilizes. Mara read the message twice. Then she looked at the children. Apparently, she said, "Your confused thoughts are now strategically relevant." Bram said, "Adults are desperate." "Yes." Pim asked, "Can I draw the soup thing?" No biological soup drawings before lunch. Lena had not spoken since the galaxy appeared on the map. Mara sat beside her. "What are you thinking?" Lena looked at the board, then at the dark windows. "The signal from the first day felt like it was looking at us," she said. "Maybe the second one was looking away." Mara felt the sentence settle inside her. Looking away, not fleeing and not calling. Looking away, toward something else. She wrote it down. In the afternoon, the city received another bulletin. Hypatia project expanded. The words appeared on public screens, shelter feeds, transport walls, emergency boards, and wrist devices. Claire Beaumont returned with a controlled expression. Strategic Command confirms that the DBS Hypatia will be prepared as a long-range carrier and investigative platform. Its mission profile will include signal pursuit, deep route navigation, scientific containment, and first contact risk assessment. No departure time has been released. This time, the image of the vessel remained long enough for everyone to see it. DBS Hypatia. Long hull, central spine, forward command structure, deep-range modules, scientific containment bays, not merely a ship. A question with engines. Theo's earlier joke had become too accurate to be funny. Mara looked around the shelter. The children stared at the vessel as if it were a door. The adults stared as if it were a debt. Aisha, still pregnant and furious at every protein bar in existence, said, "That thing looks expensive enough to have caused 3 political scandals." Theo said, "At least." "Good," Isha replied. "Then maybe it will work." That evening, as Bremen darkened again, Mara climbed to the school's second floor for the first time since the attack. The corridor windows were cracked but sealed. Through them she could see the city under emergency light. The roofs were wet, the streets were wounded. The Bremen key still hung on a municipal banner torn down one side. In the distance, near the river, a temporary projection had been cast onto the side of a damaged building. Asterion leapt. Asterion lives. Someone had added beneath it in smaller letters, Bremen auch, Bremen too. Mara stood there for a long time. Theo found her eventually. "You missed dinner." "What was it?" "Something in a tray claiming to be pasta." "Then I made a wise choice." He leaned against the wall beside her. "You are thinking about the ship." "I am thinking about the people on Asterion." "That too." "And magic." "That too." "And the element." Mostly the element. Mara did not deny it. Theo looked through the cracked window. Whatever that thing was, it used contact, with systems, with bodies, with roots, with fear. Can something use fear? People do. That is not comforting. I was not aiming for comforting. I am tired. She turned toward him. "Do you think the Hypatia should follow it?" Theo answered too quickly, then stopped himself. The real answer came slower. "I think if someone shoots an arrow into your house and the arrow has a string tied to it, sooner or later someone will pull the string. And if something is waiting at the other end, then better to know before it pulls first." That night, Mara recorded again. "My name is Mara Voss. This is the 4th day after Signal Noir. Today we learned that Earth was not the only wound. Asterion 4 was taken, Port Asterion was held, K-Lynx, Magic, Madame, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fleets struck back." She paused. The shelter was quieter now, not peaceful, only exhausted. Magic touched something at Asterion, or it touched magic. The reports call it hybrid signal matter. That sounds clean. It is not clean. It is a phrase built to stand between human beings and the fact that something unknown entered a body, a suit, a system, and survived long enough to be carried home. Her voice tightened. They removed it on India 1. They studied it. Then it sent another signal. She looked at the copy of the map she had drawn from memory. Earth, India 1. Asterion, the long line outward. The second signal did not follow our roads. It went somewhere we had not named properly, a distant galaxy, a place outside our roots, outside our habits, outside the comfort of thinking distance still protects us. She let the silence sit. Today, the DBS Hypatia became more than a name on a bulletin. It became the shape of the question we are afraid to ask. She stopped recording, then started again because the last thought had not finished. If Signal Noir was the knock, Asterion was the door opening, magic was the hand burned by the handle, India 1 was the room where the thing was placed on the table, and Hypatia— Mara looked through the dark school window toward the hidden sky. Hypatia is the first person foolish or brave enough to follow the corridor beyond the house. She saved the file. Downstairs, Pim had drawn another picture beneath What We Know. This time it showed the Brementown musicians standing on the back of a long starship. The rooster was on top, shouting at a black spiral galaxy. Mara stared at it. Then she laughed once. Not because it was funny, because it was impossible, and because after everything, the impossible had become the only honest shape left.